All right, I'm back, Jack. It's LP. I want to thank everyone first of all for your being kind and backing Niobe Penguina and sharing out the work. We did 13,000 Canadian duck bucks. While it's not enough for a Whopper, I might get a double hamburger at some point. But the news, ladies and gentlemen, keeps rolling on. Mark Millar suggests royalty rates of 50% to save the comic book industry. Now, just as they say here, there's been lots of chatter recently about the page rates work for hire at Marvel and DC Comics. It's time to light the Mark Millar bat signal. Now, look, everyone is an armchair quarterback when it comes to how do we save the dying comic book industry? How do we, make sure that it doesn't go down like the Titanic? And I don't know if there is a quote unquote magical answer, but everyone seems to think that they have one. Tyler Carpenter, the gift that keeps on giving, said he's just tired of hearing about it altogether. A lot of people are starting to like, I'm just going to focus on me, myself, and I and my business, which is fair enough. In fact, I'm pretty much there myself. I have no insight on how to save Marvel, and even if I did, why would I? I guess at this point, when you're making comics and you want that lucrative spot that Marvel is in, the only way to get that is if Marvel sort of fails, isn't it? Right? And someone needs to come replace the void that they sort of leave behind. But we'll get our thoughts on that. It's going to be me and Max DeVille sort of going over this. So let's welcome, of course, to the channel, the co-host with the most, Mr. Max DeVille. Yay!
I'm here.
You're here, man. So Max, what we got on the go here is Mark Millar suggests royalty rate of 50% to save the comic book industry, good sir. Here, I'll put it so you can see it as well. There you go. Now, so here's the article summary by Rich Johnson. Mark Millar criticizes low page rates for comic artists. Millar proposes a radical 50% royalty share to revive the comics industry. He challenges the current system of minimum royalty payments by the big two, and despite inaccuracies, Millar's plan could attract top talent back to Marvel and DC. So, first of all, Max, you and I both make comics. Do you think there is a magic answer, the golden goose, if you will, the golden egg,
to save comics?
to save the corporate comic book industry? Not what we do, but more or less like what Marvel and DC and some of these other bigger
No,
publishers do.
no, there's no magic answer to it. They shot themselves in the foot in the '90s with Marvel, trying to do direct market stuff, and then it's hurt them ever since. And it's they gave up too much stock in the battleground. They gave up too much space. They gave up the newsstands and all that stuff, and that hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, everything went to who said it that it was a Ben where he said it's all back in the LCS, which is like a little clubhouse.
Yeah.
And people don't feel like they belong there. They won't go.
This is it, man. Mark Millar, the writer of Marvel's best-selling graphic book of all time, Civil War, as well as the co-creator of The Unfunnies, Kick-Ass, Hit Girl, Kingsman, Wanted, Jupiter's Legacy, Chosen, and much more. Currently, he writes exclusively for Netflix Image Comics, and he has a plan he would like to suggest. He posts to Twitter, to the twatter. He says, quote unquote, don't have any skin in the game as I work elsewhere now for a long time. But I got a lot of pals at Marvel and DC and hate to see them struggle like this. I offer this advice in good faith in a bid to help supercharge both freelance deals and the corporations themselves. It's crass to talk money, but it's also shocking that the people writing and drawing at the top books are earning a fraction of what my peers and I earned in those titles 15 years ago. I made $1,000 plus a page in royalties, but I'm hearing from guys on $90 a page, and that's criminal. So let's break this down. The $90 a page, that's generally what a lot of people are sort of circling around when you're doing when you're just coming out into the indies. Like
Yeah.
Guys like us, those page rates are $90, $100, maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more seems to be the norm. And as far as getting $1,000 a page, well, you said it best, right, Mark? It's 15 years ago. Years, John.
Yeah.
Years. Okay.
I was going to say 15 years ago was a completely different landscape in the comic book industry. I mean, you have to look at how many books are selling, how much money they're making, how much money they're losing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of little factors that you've got to
Why
look at.
is a company going to pay someone like $1,000 a page when they can't, when they're struggling to sell like 1,000 units? You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, that's like paying them $1 a book
And I understand what the argument's going to be. Well,
per
if you brought
page.
top tier talent in, more people would buy the books. I'm like, well, they're not bringing in top tier talent because they can't afford to bring in a top tier talent because they're not selling the books.
Exactly. It's a catch-22. It's like you got to sell books to bring in top talent, but you need top talent to sell books.
This is it.
So,
Now the comic market has collapsed in the past 5 years, and these companies have less money to pay staff and freelancers. Well, there it is. You just answered your own question, buddy.
yeah,
But what I'm proposing is really simple economics and can massively help both get in the black again. Are you ready? Are you ready, Max?
I'm
We're
ready.
ready for the magic answer?
I'm ready.
All right.
Let's do it.
They don't have the money at the moment to jack up their page rates, but it would cost them literally zero if they revolutionize their royalty deals. For example, right now, both companies typically pay around 2% royalty on all sales over, broadly speaking, 50,000 sales. Given that just a handful of Marvel and DC books sell over 50,000 copies a month, that means almost no royalties are paid out. So that's huge information right there. You have to sell over 50,000 copies of your book to get a 2% royalty.
Wow.
Right? That's just to start the ball, 50,000.
Yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean?
crazy.
That's crazy
That's
now. It didn't used to be, but it is
yeah.
crazy now.
I mean, 50,000 units that's a lot,
Yeah.
especially now.
The number is almost abstract. It's the sales decline. This seems to be a race to the bottom in terms of talent that they can afford. That's exactly what it is. You know what I mean? Look,
Hmm.
when you're coming up like we are, right? You got to budget everything. You got only so much money in the pot to make your comic, and you got to figure out how to make the best comic with X budget. You know what I mean? So if that means you're going for a guy that's drawing $90 a page, and he's not the superstar quality of J. Scott Campbell, oh well, you got to suck it up, Buttercup. You know what I mean? If you want J.
Yeah,
Scott, you got to pay J. Scott rates.
yeah. And do you have that money? No.
No, right? So you got to make the best comic with what you got. Marvel and DC are no different. They probably have a business budget. They got the overlords, the Mouse, and the Warner Brothers, telling them, what they're able to spend and what they're not able to spend. And I'm sure since their businesses aren't so lucrative right now that budget to spend on talent isn't.
Just keep shrinking down like a tighter and tighter dolphin's asshole until it's watertight.
This is it. Could have said it any better myself. Mark Millar says, though, my suggestion is that if one of these companies swaps away that 2% royalty for a 50-50 split with the creative team on all sales, say over 60,000 copies, they will send a bolt of electricity through the industry and bring most of the commercial freelancers in the biz again. First of all, you have to be able to sell over 60,000 copies. That alone is a feat that almost seems near impossible these days.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe if you're Jim Lee and you're coming back to do Batman again for a run, you might, generate a bit of buzz and get that going. But let's face it, the top superstars that he's mentioned before in the past, they're all getting old, dude. I don't think
Yeah.
they got it in them to do monthly comics on time anymore. When they come out, it's like a superstar event, not as a regular, to the grind curator anymore,
Yeah. And then in the 90s, they decided that they didn't want to let talent become superstars anymore. So they didn't foster that.
Yeah.
So they didn't foster a new level of talent to come in the door. They didn't help, groom these people into
Rumors.
into yeah, groomers into the into the positions that they would be taking. They just hired some people, you know.
Yeah. He's
And when Disney bought them, they just hired corporate people. I mean, the people didn't even care about comics. They're just here to push papers around and make corporation things go.
Yep, I agree. Mark Millar says a creator can make decent money on even a modestly selling creator owned book, but it'd be absolutely dwarfed by a 50% split on the X Men or Spider Man with sales taken into the stratosphere. No company is going to give you 50%. Let's just fucking
No.
start with that. You're lucky if you could get 10%. You know what I mean? They could make literally millions of dollars again a year again for both company and talent. The beauty of this is that it would cost the big two nothing, as it's zero fiscal outlay up front. The double win is that they're going to get 50% of a potentially, and that's the key word there. It's not guaranteed,
Yeah.
and I think companies are looking for guaranteed wins here. Of a potentially huge number instead of a spiral into the depths of where they are right now.
Yeah, but see, they also are losing 50% or 48% or whatever it
That
is
they're already taken
that they
in.
already have right now. So they are losing.
Well, his arguments is if you actually had the talent and you were going to pay them the money they're worth, that would increase sales.
It would increase sales, which would offset the value. I understand what he's saying, but I don't think he's right.
Okay. Freelancers, of course, would be delighted as their earning potential would spike overnight. And the companies balance the books again, they could start to invest in the proper page rate and much needed new talent. As is, I think the direct market is a couple years away from complete collapse. That's a hell of a statement. I mean, it's just thrown in there sort of casually. The direct market, Max, a couple years from collapse? Yes or no?
No,
Okay.
no. I mean, it's a couple years from a revolution, but it's not going to collapse.
American made comics are 9% of the American market, which is insane, John. Insane. It needs radical surgery to fix it, and this would cost nothing. All the indie companies are hurting because no one's coming in for Marvel and DC books anymore. Every day we hear about more stores closing. Whoever does this first will have a talent migration like the industry has never seen. But who will get there first, Marvel or DC? Um, they've
Either one
tried
of them.
that though. They brought in Mark Silvestri for that 7 issue Batman
Batman run.
miniseries, and while I'm sure it did pretty well, it also took 5 years to draw it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it took like 7 years to do $7.
you know, and I mean like that's Kickstarter shit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like fucking is Mark Millar right or wrong? Now Mark Millar is very wrong about the 9% figure. They say he takes in some initial dodgy figures and gets them even more wrong by ignoring the American made middle grade and YA comics from the late American publishers such as Scholastic, Random House, and more. And he also cuts off a swath of sales figures in DC and Marvel into the bargain. Yeah, he didn't include Scholastic and Random House because that's not what the fuck he's
Yeah,
talking about.
he's not talking about that shit. He's not talking about Captain Underpants and Dogman and all that shit. He's talking about Batman
But
and
those are
Catwoman.
comics in a technical sense.
Yeah, well, it's
Slap.
just like how they used to say, well, you're a gamer if you play the games like Candy Crush. It's like,
Yeah.
no, you're not. You're just someone who plays casual video
This
games.
is it, man. About time that we had to start a little bit of elitism here. Fuck.
Mhm.
Also, he's wrong about a complete collapse of the direct market. Comic stores do have new challenges, and we reported on those closures of a number of prominent ones, but also the opening of new stores and the expansion of others. Indeed, it seems overall that as many stores open as close. Just fewer people make a fuss about the opening of a store as they do the closure of a beloved institution. Do you think that's an equal amount?
No.
I mean, there's no data for us to go look at, but we're to take a rough guess. I don't think
N-
it's 50-50 at all.
No. I mean, we're lucky in Kansas City. We've got like five real comic book stores, and then we've got these things called vintage stock, which sell comics.
Right.
So, and there's like 10 of those. So we're pretty lucky.
Yeah. They also say it's untrue to say that he has no skin in the game. Mark Millar is planning on returning to Marvel and DC after his Netflix exclusive deal is up, as Netflix appears to have no plans to renew it. That's speculation. So damning the market now so he can return to it in glory with Superman in 2025, proclaiming himself as the savior is probably skin in the game. I don't think that marks Millar's ultimate plan,
I don't think he's thinking that far ahead.
No. So if he returns underneath such a deal with the Superman book written by him and drawn by, say, Brian Hitch, who may be out of his Ghost Machine deal by then, they both could do very well indeed. That's skin. Look, you got a lot of ifs in there. If this
Yeah,
happens, and if he doesn't get the deal, and if he works with this guy, and if he's on Superman, and if.
yeah. That's a whole lot of. It's got to happen this way specifically.
Yeah. But taking into all that, he's not wrong. Lots of creators have left Marvel and DC over the decades to make more money elsewhere and to own their work. From Jack Kirby to Rob Liefeld, from Neil Adams to Jim Lee, from Steve Ditko to Todd McFarlane, draw more bricks in the wall.
That's
Back
right.
then, it was an uncommon path. Now many do it, with the likes of Ed Brubaker, Brian K. Vaughan, James Tynion IV, Rick Remender, Sean Phillips, and Scott Snyder, leaving it all behind. Thank God I was able to say every one of those names.
Yeah, you got it.
Got it. Though they have come back for the odd project here and there, it's another market shift. It's just the kind of deal that Mark Millar is suggesting to bring back plenty of them, if only for a little bit. Maybe even Grant Morrison. Just don't tell Mark that. Here's the thing: all these guys are superstars now, right? Well, Steve Ditko, I don't think is anywhere. I don't think he's with us anymore, right? Todd
Yeah.
McFarlane isn't going to go back to drawing monthly books,
Nope.
Rob Liefeld's in the mix a little bit with Marvel. He's doing some Deadpool shit. I don't know like how steady that is. I haven't heard much from James Teen or Rick Remender lately, and even Scott Snyder. So who knows, man? But I think instead of trying to entice the older guys to come back, what you
You need
need to do is cultivate that new upcoming talent, those new young guns. And I don't mean like the young guns you got drawing now that are just drawing talking heads in a coffee shop. You got to look for the guys who would look at McFarlane and Liefeld and all these other superstars as their inspiration and want to emulate them. Those are the cats
Yep.
you're looking for.
That's exactly who you need.
Any
You
final?
don't need these
Oh, go ahead, bro.
people do it. You don't need these people that are just drawing just terrible, terrible line art in books like X-Men. That should be showcasing your best artists.
Right. I mean, that's like putting your your new hires in WWF in the main event. You don't do that.
Yeah, I don't understand what they're thinking. I mean, I know they're trying to save money, but there's that old adage that it takes money to make money.
Yeah,
So
I
you
wish that
gotta,
wasn't true, but yeah, it's
you
true.
gotta, you gotta spend some money sometimes to get that
Get that money, honey.
out.
Now, I would ask you, who do you think today's sponsor is? But we're done with Niobe Penguina for now. So I gotta make a new sponsor video for my eBay page. So just assume that there was an insert sponsor video here, which it tells you all to go to my eBay page. What do you think,
Go to
Max?
my eBay page now.
Buy my book. And of course, Max DeVille, you got Human Hunters 4 currently on Kickstarter. Just give us a quick 2 minutes on that, and we'll call this video a wrap.
All right, Human Hunters 4. It's follows the trip of it's a flashback episode for Freya where she gets tried for witchcraft and examined for being a witch. It's very deviant. It's very she's tormented often. It's very hardcore. We didn't pull back from it. We really and did the research into what happened to these women, and we just were showing it full on without pulling any punches. Um, we are currently at, let me see here. We're currently at 102 backers
Woohoo!
at 44.85.
Yeah.
Eagle Freedom dollars, whatever you call them, Freedom bucks,
Freedom
Eagle
Bucks.
dollars.
Guys, go back. Human Hunters 4. The link will be in the description of the video once we get this uploaded, which will be here in a little bit. And stay tuned for more videos coming from us real soon. Peace.
Peace.